guys, so today's video is going to be a little different because I want to share with you my experience as an unemployed graduate. I knew from the very beginning, even in university, that getting a job was not going to be guaranteed after graduation. Like, I knew that people were struggling out there to get jobs. I knew that there was a really high unemployment rate, especially very hard for people to get jobs without experience, i.e. graduates, right? So while I was in university, I literally did so many different things just trying to protect myself from potentially being unemployed after graduation. And I literally worked on campus and I worked off campus during holidays, during weekends, and my whole strategy behind that was that I was trying to gather as much experience as I could so that once I graduate, even though I wouldn't have a X amount of years of experience, I'll be able to say, okay, this is what I did with my weekends, with my vacations, and actually use that as some kind of work experience. And to an extent, this really did help because I was able to land an internship straight after university at a venture capital company where I was essentially working in like sales / customer service, and it was an internship and I was more than happy to have even gotten that, right? But that happiness didn't last very long. Firstly, actually, it was paying next to nothing, especially considering the fact that I live in Cape Town and living in Cape Town is quite expensive. So the amount of money that I was getting paid was barely covering my expenses, and I still had to get some kind of like subsidies, if you would like to call them, from my family, right? But anyway, I was in that job for like 2 months, and literally the day before my graduation ceremony, they hit us with retrenchment letters. Now, this is my first job out of university. It was quite a shock, and retrenchment is definitely not something that I would wish upon anyone because it literally turns your whole life upside down. And just imagine just how much it was affecting me, but I could see like how much it was affecting my colleagues, all the guys who had been there for longer than me, and maybe who actually had like families to take care of and so on, right? So they were also impacted quite a lot by the retrenchment. But the timing of it all was really the cherry on top because it just made everything that much worse. So my graduation was actually happening the next day. And I was like, cool, it's fine. I'm not going to let this actually affect me on my graduation day because I have been studying for so long and I've worked so hard to get this degree. So I'm definitely going to celebrate actually getting this degree. So graduation day came, I was fine, I had the time of my life, I celebrated my degree, celebrated with my family. And actually a note on that is that I actually didn't tell my family that I was now unemployed, and the biggest reason why I didn't tell them was, well, I had multiple reasons. Some of them were the fact that I felt like they would really worry way too much, and I just didn't want to stress them out. I mean, they had paid for my university, now I'm done, you know, I should actually start trying to figure things out myself, right? So I didn't tell them for that reason. As well, I just wanted to enjoy the day without putting a damper on things. So I kept that news to myself, and I just kind of locked it in a box, put it away, and I was like, I'm just going to deal with this after my graduation ceremony. So graduation ceremony ended, my grandparents went back home, and now I was back to reality, right? So remember, I had lost my internship that I literally lasted only 2 months, but I lost that, and now I was basically jobless with no income, trying to feed myself and to provide shelter for myself. And luckily for me, very like when I say luckily, I mean like huge luck that I had such a great friend who was willing to actually have me stay in one of her bedrooms in the flat that she was renting, right? It wasn't even a flat, it was like student accommodation, guys. Like there were students living in that block of flats, and yeah, my friend just agreed to like let me sleep in the one room, and I literally lived in that room for almost a year because I couldn't afford to pay for rent. Damn well couldn't afford to buy a house, but I literally could not afford to like pay rent and like electricity and things like that. And she allowed me to stay there rent free without paying for electricity. So the only thing I really just had to pay for was just my food. And to actually get by in terms of food, what I did was I literally started hustling. I was like, okay, I was in survival mode, guys. I was like, cool, but what can I do? What can I do to make a little bit of money so I can survive while I'm sending out these thousands of job applications and actually feed myself during that time as well, right? So I was like, you know what? I can write CVs. Let me write people CVs, let me write motivational letters. And now looking back, it's quite ironic that I was writing CVs and motivational letters for people when I didn't even have a job, when I was also applying. I know, it's quite ironic, but I decided to do that, and it actually did help to carry me through like the few months. And also, just to highlight here, I wasn't making like a lot of money from CV writing. Like, if you were to think about how much you would be willing to pay for someone to write you your CV or your motivational letter, also taking into account how there's so many like free resources online that will help you to actually put together CV and motivational letters. So I wasn't making a lot of money from there, but it definitely was enough for me to at least feed myself and keep myself going while I applied for jobs every day. And when I say I applied for jobs every single day, I literally mean every single day. Applying for jobs was my job. That was literally my life. So that is what I did, and while I was applying for my jobs, I was doing people's CVs and motivational letters, and that helped me to keep me fed and all of that, right? So I struggled through literally, I think it was like 6 months of doing that, and finally found a job. And I say a job in quotes because it wasn't the most ideal of situations that I wanted to be in, but it was paying and I really, really needed the money. And this, I think, was like 9 months into my unemployed graduate experience, right? And at this point, to be honest, I was definitely like losing hope. Like, I will not lie, I was definitely losing hope, because I was just like, maybe I should have studied engineering, maybe I should have studied medicine, maybe I should have studied this. But, you know, like, trying to think back and wishing that you had done something differently really doesn't help when you're already in a situation where you didn't do that thing. Even when I was really demotivated, I was like almost out of hope, I kept applying for jobs while I was in that job that wasn't the most ideal, wasn't what I was looking for. But I took that job because it was paying. And that job, guys, wow. One, they were actually paying just as much as my internship, which was 5,000 rands. And for anyone living in Cape Town, you would know that 5,000 rands is very little to live on in Cape Town in terms of paying rent, transport, food, Wi-Fi, all of those things, right? It makes it very, very difficult for you to survive on 5,000 rands. So I continued staying with a friend and trying, while I was still trying to find a better opportunity. So I worked that job, I think, for 3-4 months, and in that job I literally hated every single second of it. And it was very trying, because one, I didn't agree with the business model itself. For me, it really just seemed like some kind of like really dodgy business model, right? So one, I really didn't enjoy that. Two, I had to travel quite a long distance. So from where I was living to where the job was, I literally had to wake up early in the morning to catch a taxi and spend an entire hour on that taxi to that taxi rank in the town that job was in, and then walk to the job. So it wasn't very comfortable, right? But I made it work, and that should literally, when I say an hour, sometimes it literally took 2 hours. But I just made it work because I needed the money, and I just needed a job to just keep myself sane, right? But while I was in that job, I kept applying for more jobs outside of that job. And when I was applying for jobs outside that job, I I actually was getting so many rejection letters. It was like every single day I would get some rejection letter, and like rejection letters are like so, they literally drain the life out of you. Like that sinking feeling in your heart when you read you regret. It's just, yeah. But while I was in that job, I was lucky enough to actually land a couple of interviews with some companies that were offering quite good positions in terms of like just pay and security, right? So I was attending these interviews, literally making up excuses where I worked for me to actually be able to attend those interviews, right? And like literally when I got my breakthrough, I think it was like a year later, and a year later from like my internship, and I got this call from a fintech company, and they were like, we're so happy to have had you on our interviews. We are ready to actually, you know, take you on if you're ready to accept a job offer with us. And I was so relieved because that job really was my very first real job in terms of the work I was doing and actually seeing what it meant to hold my position and just believing in what the company did. So when I got that job, then I actually started to make a comfortable enough living for me to actually move out of my friend's student apartment and move into a place of my own and be able to just pay for basic things like transport and food and just living, right? So I just want to share that story with you guys just to give you more context into my life, my experiences, and also just to show that nothing really does happen overnight and everyone does struggle at some point. So I hope if you are currently an unemployed graduate, hang in there, just keep going. You will find someone who will open the door for you. You'll find a company that will open the door for you and give you that very first opportunity. And that is literally what you need, the first opportunity, and then you can actually start to make things happen. But that is it for this video. I really do hope that it gave you a little more insight into my experiences and also just maybe encouraged you to just keep hanging in there if you're literally experiencing unemployment right now and you're feeling hopeless, which I also felt when I was in that position. So yeah, guys, that is my unemployed graduate experience. If you do have questions or if you just want to vent even about what you're going through, be sure to hit me up. You can leave a comment down below, DM me on Twitter, Instagram. I'm available on those two platforms, and I would be very happy to chat with you because I definitely can relate to the struggles of being unemployed as a graduate, because you feel like you've already put in so much work, but now you're not getting anything straight out of university, and it can be demotivating. But definitely do not lose the hope, because you can actually get that first opportunity, and that first opportunity is really all that you need. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.